Here's something most men over 50 never get told. The slow fade in your energy, your drive, your strength in the gym, and your confidence in the bedroom might not be just aging at all. It might be a single vitamin sitting quietly at the bottom of your blood work, one your doctor probably glanced at and never mentioned. And by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you the one mistake that makes this vitamin almost useless, even when you're taking plenty of it. So stay with me, because that part matters more than the dose. I'm not a doctor. I want to be straight with you about that from the start. I'm a men's health educator. I've spent years reading the research and talking to men exactly like you, and my job here is simple: to translate what the science actually says into something you can use. So let's talk about the vitamin in the title, because it's not really a vitamin at all. It's vitamin D, and in your body, it behaves more like a hormone than a nutrient. That distinction is the whole reason it's tied so closely to testosterone. Here's what I mean. Almost every cell in your body has receptors for vitamin D, and critically, the Leydig cells in the testes, the very cells responsible for producing testosterone, carry those receptors too. When vitamin D is present in healthy amounts, those cells have what they need to do their job. When it's chronically low, you're asking a factory to run without one of its raw materials. Researchers have found that men with higher vitamin D levels tend to have higher testosterone, and in some studies, men who corrected a deficiency saw their testosterone move in a meaningful direction over the course of a year. I want to be careful with my words here. This is a link, an association, a may support, not a magic switch, but it's one of the most consistent associations in the entire field of men's health, and that's exactly why it deserves your attention. Now, why 50? Why does this hit men in your age bracket the hardest? A few reasons stack up at once. As you age, your skin simply becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D from sunlight. A man at 60 can make a fraction of what he made at 20 from the same amount of sun. On top of that, your kidneys become less efficient at converting it into its active form. Add modern life to the equation. Most of us spend our days indoors, behind glass, under fluorescent lights, covered up, often in northern climates where the winter sun is too weak to do anything for months at a time. So you've got reduced production, reduced conversion, and reduced exposure, all landing at the same stage of life where your testosterone is already naturally drifting downward. It's a perfect storm, and almost nobody connects the dots. So how do you know if this is you? Let me walk you through the signs of low vitamin D. Because they're sneaky, they masquerade as a dozen other things. The first is a deep, flat fatigue. Not the tiredness of a hard day's work, but a heaviness that sleep doesn't fix. You wake up and you already feel like you're behind. The second is mood, a kind of gray, low motivation, a shorter fuse, a loss of the spark you used to have. Vitamin D receptors sit in the regions of the brain that regulate mood, which is why deficiency is so often linked to feeling down, especially in the darker months. The third sign is physical, aches in the bones and muscles, a weakness that shows up as you struggling with weights you used to move easily or recovering slower than you should after exercise. The fourth is getting sick more often, picking up every cold that goes around because vitamin D plays a real role in immune function. And the fifth, the one that brings a lot of men to a video like this in the first place, is a drop in libido and drive. That quiet sense that the engine just isn't revving like it did. Now here's the thing, any one of these on its own means very little. But if I just described 3 or 4 of them and they've crept up on you over the last few years, that's not a coincidence you should ignore. The good news, and this is genuinely good news, is that of all the factors driving low testosterone, vitamin D is one of the most fixable. You can't turn back the clock on your age, but you absolutely can change this number. So let's talk about how in 3 layers: sun, food, and smart support. Let's start with the sun, because it's free and it's the way your body was designed to get this. Sunlight on bare skin triggers vitamin D production directly. The trouble is, it's not as simple as go outside. It depends on the angle of the sun, the season, how much skin you expose, your age, and how much pigment you have. As a general principle, short, regular midday exposure, getting some sun on your arms and back when it's high in the sky, does far more than a long session in weak evening light. I'm not telling you to burn. Burning helps nothing and harms your skin. I'm talking about sensible, consistent exposure. The problem for most men over 50 is that even doing everything right, your skin's reduced efficiency and the realities of where you live mean sunlight alone often can't get you where you need to be. Which brings us to the plate. Vitamin D in food is real, but it's modest, and you have to know where to look. The richest sources are fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, herring. A serving of wild salmon is one of the best natural hits you can get. Egg yolks contain some, so eat the whole egg, not just the whites. Cod liver oil is a traditional source that's genuinely potent. Beef liver carries a bit, and many countries fortify milk and certain cereals. Here's the honest truth though. It is very hard to eat your way out of a real deficiency with food alone. You'd need to be eating oily fish several times a week, every week, to make a serious dent. Food is a foundation, not usually a full solution, and that's not me being negative. That's just the arithmetic of how little vitamin D most foods actually contain. And if you want faster, longer-lasting results, I've put the exact natural support I recommend in the link below this video. So now let's talk about that third layer, support. And this is where I come back to the mistake I promised you at the start, the one that makes vitamin D almost useless even when you're taking plenty. Here it is. Vitamin D does not work alone. It has partners, cofactors, and if you flood your body with vitamin D while ignoring them, you can actually create new problems instead of solving the old one. The two that matter most for men your age are magnesium and vitamin K2. Let's take magnesium first. Your body cannot convert vitamin D into its active, usable form without magnesium. Magnesium is the worker that activates it. And here's the cruel irony. Magnesium is one of the most common deficiencies in the modern diet because our soils are depleted and our processed foods are stripped of it. So you have men swallowing high doses of vitamin D, seeing very little benefit, and never realizing the reason is that they're too low in magnesium to switch it on. Magnesium on its own is also linked to better sleep, calmer nerves, and healthy muscle function, all things that quietly support testosterone in their own right. You'll find it in pumpkin seeds, dark leafy greens, almonds, and dark chocolate. Then there's vitamin K2, and this one is about safety as much as benefit. Vitamin D increases how much calcium your body absorbs from food. That's good, until you ask, where does that calcium go? Vitamin K2 is the traffic director that steers calcium into your bones and teeth, where you want it, and away from your arteries and soft tissue, where you don't. Take a lot of vitamin D with no K2 over a long period, and you're absorbing more calcium without properly directing it. K2 shows up in fermented foods, certain cheeses, egg yolks, and a traditional dish called natto. This is the partnership most men have never heard of, and it's why a smart approach pairs these nutrients together rather than hammering vitamin D in isolation. So let me pull this into a simple, practical plan you can actually follow. Step 1. Get sensible, regular sun on your skin when you can. Make it a daily habit, not a rare event. Step 2. Anchor your diet with fatty fish a couple of times a week, whole eggs, and the magnesium-rich foods I mentioned. Step 3. If you're going to use a supplement, and for most men over 50, through the darker half of the year especially, it makes real sense. Don't take vitamin D as a lonely soldier. Pair it with its cofactors, magnesium and K2, so it can actually do its job and do it safely. And step 4, the one I'd never skip, get your level tested. A simple blood test tells you exactly where you stand, takes the guesswork out, and lets you and your doctor track real progress instead of just hoping. Knowing your number turns this from a guessing game into a plan. I want to leave you with the bigger picture because vitamin D is not a cure, and I'd never insult you by pretending it is. It is one powerful, well-supported lever among several. But it might be the single most overlooked lever for men in your decade of life. Cheap, natural, backed by real research, and almost entirely within your control. The man who fixes his foundation, who gets the basics genuinely right instead of chasing the next miracle, is the man who feels the difference 6 months from now. So if this opened your eyes, take the next step. I've put the exact natural support I trust, with the cofactors already built in the link below this video, so you don't have to piece it together yourself. You are not past your prime. You are at the age where doing the simple things consistently pays off the most, and your body is far more responsive than anyone has led you to believe. Get the foundation right, stay patient, stay consistent, and give yourself the raw materials to rebuild. You've got far more control over this than you've been told, so go use it. And remember, everything I've shared with you today is general education to help you ask better questions, not medical advice. Your levels, your health, and your choices are personal, so talk them through with a doctor who knows you before you make changes. Take care of yourself, look after the man in the mirror, and I'll see you in the next one.